good evening po. Ayan, nangapit bahay ako para interviewin si Sir Junel.
Ayan, first question. What is fourth industrial revolution in education?
For me, as I learned about it during our trainings, I already gave this to our science writers who joined the RSPC, the recent RSPC. The fourth industrial revolution in education includes, for example, nanotechnology. It includes a lot about computers. It includes decoding messages or programming the computers. It includes everything that once we didn't imagine, but now it is they are already here in us.
I am the one, the way your son don't need a...
Sa fire. Ito kasi yung parang nire-require yung curriculum nito ay to teach kids to teach critically. Mas nagiging high-tech or mas nagiging talagang modern na tayo. Robotics. Kasi meron akong pamangkin din sa pinsan niya na dito nag-aaral sa Tagaytay Science High School na hindi naman, parang meron silang invitation from Singapore na nag-present sila about robotics hanggang sa ito ay na palabas kay Kuya Kim. Ano ba yung kay Kuya Kim?
Yung Matanglawin po.
Matanglawin. Na-feature sila doon. About robotics. Maganda siya in a sense na talagang ang bata mag-iisip kung paano i-manipulate yung robot na yun.
Question, what is fourth industrial revolution in education?
The fourth industrial revolution in education moves away from the traditional and limiting education that early learners have had experience and try to focus more on enhancing critical, creative, and logical thinking of learners for them to early develop their deep understanding about the world and how would they actually give solution to problems that they encounter. Technology is also a key factor in advancing more first industrial revolution in education, especially nowadays that industries and all disciplines require the use of technology.
Okay. Many experts believe we are now in the early stage of fourth industrial revolution, an era combining the digital, physical, and biological system in a way never seen before. Virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and robotics are changing the way we live and work.
What are the issues raised regarding the fourth industrial revolution in education?
Ang magiging problema lang siguro dito yung financial. Ito nga lang minsan nagkakaproblema tayo sa K-12 na kulang-kulang pa nga yung supplies ng mga libro, ng mga materials. Kung halimbawa let's say na magpo-focus tayo doon sa robotics, medyo kailangan pa talagang i-budget o bigyan talaga ng allotment ng budget para dito sa file na yan.
Ito yung challenges na nakikita po na.
Although, unti-unti, tinatanggap natin yung pagbabago
Apo.
yung technology. Tinatanggap natin unti-unti yan.
What do you think are the challenges or issues that we might be facing when it comes to dealing with fire?
First, of course, budget. Where are we going to get budgets when it comes to buying equipments needed to prepare our pupils for the fourth industrial revolution? As we all know, we have some competitions with robotics, but honestly, I think public schools are not yet ready. Only private schools who can afford to buy equipments needed for them to join the robotics competition. That's one instance. Therefore, I think one of the problems or one of the issues that we have to consider is the budget. Another is the actual curriculum. Are we really prepared for the fourth industrial education while we are teaching K-12 21st century learners? I think DepEd is pursuing this issue. I mean, is addressing this issue, but not that so emphasized in our curriculum. Maybe DepEd should include robotics. Maybe DepEd should include something about nanotechnology, using our, maybe DepEd should include using atoms to solve some problems. Those things that are really included in the fourth industrial revolution.
Fourth industrial revolution in education, as seen by some, could actually widens the gap among the rich countries and the poor ones, simply because in implementing the concept of fire, it needs a lot of resources and funding to invest on technologies. Further, poor countries may find it difficult to adjust and meet the standards of fire, which rich countries have the liberty to expand more their capacity and introduce pressure, ideas and concepts that will add up to the problem of poor countries, because they could not easily adopt the required facilities due to limited budget or funding. Another is that the political will of leaders to genuinely support the revolution in education, which may require their role in promoting educational reforms by investing more on educational facilities and manpower.
I am the way your son don't need a
Written on the proceedings of the 4th Annual Public Policy Conference 2018, held on September 18, 2018 at EDSA Shangri-La Hotel, Manila, with the title Harnessing the Fourth Industrial Revolution, Creating Our Future Today. It says that there are at least 3 areas where frontier technologies may not necessarily result in sustainable development. The first one, or the first area of concern, is the impact of frontier technologies on jobs. The truth is, today, we have no idea what the job market will look like when Fourth Industrial Revolution is fully unleashed. While previous industrial revolutions indeed created new jobs, Fourth Industrial Revolution might be different. It is no longer an automation of physical work, but of learning, communication, and cognitive abilities that defines Fourth Industrial Revolution.
The second challenge posed by Fourth Industrial Revolution is a deepening of current digital divide into a new frontier technology chasm.
Digital technologies like mobile phones have been spreading in the developing world at an unprecedented speed. However, several billion people are still left behind in terms of accessing the internet. Lacking access to ICT infrastructure, which forms the backbone of many frontier technologies, a large part of communities may soon face a new technology divide.
Third, the frontier technologies raise various ethical issues.
For robotics, there are concerns about the impact of automation on jobs. For Internet of Things, or IoT, as the information is shared among the devices connected to the internet, there are concerns relating to data security and privacy. 3D bioprinting brings moral, ethical, and legal issues that challenge many countries not yet prepared in their legal systems.
What will be the changes that should be made in order and address the demands of fourth industrial revolution in education?
One of the articles at www.forbes.com entitled 8 Things Every School Must Do to Prepare for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, written by Mr. Bernard Marr. It says that educators, schools, government officials, and parents must rethink education and how to prepare the next generation to take advantage of the plethora of opportunities and overcome the challenge enabled by ever-increasing technological change. First thing that every school must do is to redefine the purpose of education. Currently, education serves to prepare people to take on the task of a job or discipline to do something. As we move further into the future, education will need to support children to develop the skill set and mindset to do anything in their future, rather than a particular something. The second is to improve the STEM education, or the science, technology, engineering, and math education. It needs to improve across the board regardless of income levels, age, or gender. There's no doubt that every worker in the future will need some technical skills, and improvement in STEM education is warranted. But it's important to note that we shouldn't adopt an either-or mentality. We still need to help students understand the values that will help us learn how to use the new technology ethically and morally. Therefore, humanities, training, and professionals will still be essential. In fact, According to the Future of Jobs Report 2018 from the World Economic Forum, executives desire employees with critical thinking and collaboration skills even more than those with technical skills.
The fourth one is to develop human potential.
Even though machines are mastering many tasks typically performed by humans, people are still more adept at creative endeavors, imagination, critical thinking, social interaction, and physical dexterity. The educational system of the future needs to develop these inherent abilities in humans, so they are equipped to partner with machines in the future rather than compete with them. The fourth one is to adapt to lifelong learning models. Well, education must become a lifelong endeavor, and sources for education need to evolve to provide those opportunities. Attributes such as creativity, curiosity, and design thinking will be essential for the future workspace. People will no longer start with a career path and only grow with one role, so nurturing competent lifelong learners becomes essential. Fifth is to alter educator training. American philosopher John Dewey said, "If we teach today's students as we thought yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow." Even though he lived well before the beginnings of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, his words are very appropriate today. Rather than teachers distilling information to students that they then memorize, teachers will become guides to help students facilitate their own learning and lines of inquiry. Failure needs to be embraced as an essential step to learning. Additionally, teaching will be much more personalized, which will be supported by bringing in technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning. Sixth, make schools maker spaces. To allow students to practice their curiosity, problem-solving skills, inquisitiveness, and the iterations of failure, schools need to provide learning environments that will enable students to be creators using a wide variety of physical and digital tools. This can help equip children with a love of learning that will allow them to make sense of their world through hands-on experiences that emphasizes collaboration and creativity. 7. International mindfulness. In a digital interconnected world, employees of the future will need to have a global mindset. Schools and educators must adapt learning to take this into account. For example, history might not be taught from the perspective of one country, but rather with examples from around the world. And instead of teaching the same language that have always been taught, schools should look at international demand and the languages of emerging levels. 8. From how long degrees to take forging stronger ties between institutions of higher learning and industry, change will need to be made to our post-secondary education, learning to prepare students for the Fourth Industrial Revolution adequately. During the Fourth Industrial Revolution, college qualifications will become shorter and more focused, and colleges will provide more lifelong education and modular postgraduate qualifications throughout the working lives of individuals. This will also impact how earlier education levels will need to modify their college preparatory classes. For example, it is essential that the seeds for this type of learning are set in schools by offering students the opportunity to learn topics beyond their core curriculum and develop a love for learning.
How does Fourth Industrial Revolution in education change the flow of education and its learners?
Written on the proceedings of the 4th Annual Public Policy Conference 2018 is the implications on education and training systems. It says that education has to become more modular and continual in delivery mode to meet the dynamic needs of individuals and companies. A dynamic and responsive training ecosystem will enhance employability and employment, leading to greater job fulfillment, social cohesion, and equity. With the pace of change in the global economy and rate of skills churn, education and training systems need to evolve, and the economic growth strategy can no longer focus solely on front-loading on education and training to be able to remain competitive. The implications of mainstream artificial intelligence and Fourth Industrial Revolution in education and learning are vast and complex. In education in particular, we can expect the following to happen in the next 5 years and so. The first one is the merging of the teacher and the books. Just direct chatbots toward a specific domain of learning, and the path leads directly to a digital merging of the concept of a teacher, whether as an expert or as a facilitator of learning, and that of a book as a learning material or resource. Next, what to expect are the sensors in classrooms. The academic emotion of learners can be tracked and monitored closely, and intelligent tutoring systems can deliver differentiated and personalized learning modules according to the learning style and learning progress of the learner. Third, heighten experiences through virtual, augmented, and immersive reality. The possibilities are endless, whether in the social sciences, mathematics, medicines, physical and biological sciences, and even or more so in the humanities and the arts. Fourth, social media and collaborative learning. Education will also be more and more self-regulated and highly collaborative. And fifth, data analytics on learning and learners. Because extensive data can be tracked on a real-time basis, learning sessions can be tailor-made and tailor-fit to students. Furthermore, at an aggregated level, data on entire groups of learners can be routinely collected and analyzed. For example, English level performance of grade 1 students in Quezon City, geometry skills of all high school students in the autonomous region in Muslim and Mindanao, top 10 areas of confusion about the Spanish colonial period among grade 4 students nationwide. The possibility of tracking the learning progress of students at all levels, from kindergarten all the way to college, has vast potential for evidence-driven policies, curricular reforms, differentiated programs for different types of learners, and tailor-made learning materials.
Enumerate or cite the needed skills of students during Fourth Industrial Revolution in education.
The top 5 skills teachers need to flourish in the Fourth Industrial Revolution by Mr. Craig Kemp are the following.
The first one is to embrace the change with positivity.
It is critical for teachers to be willing to learn and to change as technology evolves and enters the education arena. Be positive, willing to learn and adapt, and be willing to share your successes and failures.
Second one is to collaborate, and collaborate.
The willingness to collaborate and learn with and from others is a critical skill in today's world and in the future. As we get more connected than ever before, there are no longer excuses for you to not collaborate with others, to learn and to grow. So, you have to get to be.
The third one is to be creative and take risk.
Creativity is one of the skills consistently in the future skills list. As outlined in this article, we need to model creativity and use this to creatively solve problems that are authentic. Think outside the square about how creativity can be integrated into your daily routine and take risks in doing so. Mistakes are first step in learning, and remember to fail. Fail will be stands for first attempt at learning. Forward!
Fourth is to have a sense of humor.
It reduces stress and frustration and gives people a chance to look at their circumstances from another point of view. When Mr. Kemp think of his favorite teachers from school, they are the ones that made him laugh.
And the fifth and last skill the teacher must have is to teach holistically.
With the rise in teaching styles, learning styles, and the buzz of personalized learning appearing more frequently, it is more important than ever to teach the whole child. Taking into the account of variances that exist, get to know your students, their families, and how they learn. As a teacher, how are you going to prepare yourself?
Okay, maybe that question could be answered by some teachers, but let us watch this one first.
Hi guys! We are teachers from Burol Elementary. We're having our bonding today, but we are about to answer a question. How do we prepare our pupils to be ready for the Fourth Industrial Revolution? Okay, let's start.
You should, you should always set the standard and then tell to them their limitations as a kid in using technology.
Napakaya, pero syempre, kahit kinder sila, mahalaga naka-include sa lesson ng ICT, allowing them to use gadgets sometimes if needed sa lesson.
I am the one, the way your son don't need a
ICT coordinator, malaking tulong po talaga yung technology sa mga bata ngayon, no? Kasi sa panahon natin ngayon, mas madali silang matuto kung gagamit sila ng mga iba't ibang technologies, right? Sure. And then, ito yung their learning style, kung paano sila makakakuha ng mga information ng mas madali. I would like to emphasize sa mga bata yung possible effect ng ng paggamit ng technology. Kaya naman, as a teacher, kailangan natin silang i-guide or paalalahanan lagi sa mga bagay na yan.
As a special education teacher, how can you ensure that your students can cope up with the demands of the fourth industrial revolution in education?
Alvin Toffler, in his book Future Shock, 1970, posited that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. In times of rapid change in an uncertain future, the most valuable skill would be learning how to learn rather than simply reciting a set of facts and procedures. I promise to encourage my learners to make things by collaboratively solving interesting real-world challenges, and that will be the key to thriving in this century. As a teacher, special education teacher, receiving teacher, a regular teacher, I promise to embrace the change with positivity, to collaborate, to be creative, to take risks. For my learners and pupils, to have a sense of humor and to teach holistically. And also, I promise to love more my pupils.
I am the one, the way your son don't need a
Interview. Yan. Good afternoon po.
Okay.
Work industrial education. Yan. Thank you, Sir Janelle. Ang ganda ko dito sa ano. Thank you so much for that informative. Maybe. Integrative interviews and informations. Ay. Information? Bye!